edit, copy. There it is. On the computer, live on Facebook.
I got to go get my tea in the other room. I'll be right back.
Okay.
What's happening?
I'm just waiting for the page to load. Okay, 14. Go live. Okay, should just be about 5 seconds here. Okay. All right. Welcome everybody to Consciousness Conversations with Naren and Raj. Happy Friday if you're watching this live. How you doing today, Pops?
I'm good. It's getting a little warmer here, and it's snow starting to melt. Snow is beautiful, but I was snowed in for 6 days, which was an interesting dance.
Wow.
And but I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing well. I celebrated my birthday yesterday with Gabby, and I am 52. And your birthday's coming up tomorrow, right?
Yeah, that's correct. I'm going to be 74.
74. You got 22 years on me. Oh, amazing. All right. Well, if you're new to our show, welcome. Naren and I, Naren is my father-in-law. I'm married to his daughter, Gabrielle, and he is also my coach. And we've developed work together for my business, Transformance Business Consulting. And we thought we would share our conversations with a larger audience. So thank you for chiming in, listening. And we do about 20 minutes of us talking about this topic. See if you have any questions that you might want answered. You can throw those into the Facebook feed, and we'll do our best to get to those. And we'll wrap up around 1:40. And we usually start with a grounding, just to get us present. And we encourage you to participate in the exercises that we do, obviously completely optional. But we find that you will get a lot out of them and enjoy them. So, Pops, anything else you want to say before we get going?
Nope.
All right. So I am sitting up straight.
Yeah.
You don't even have to say it anymore.
Sit up straight, close your eyes. It's interesting how conditioned we are. Now, for me, I say sit up straight and close your eyes, and I sit up myself and close my eyes, and my attention automatically moves to the breath. Because we're turning inward, attention shifts to the breath. And just shifting the attention from the mind, thoughts, emotions, whatever you've been doing, to the breath, and just noticing the breath, witnessing, watching, observing the breath, the rise and the fall of the breath. In the work I do, I encourage people to watch the breath at the belly, because it's a gross movement. You can watch it, especially how big my belly is. You can watch your belly move as it expands and contracts with the breath coming in and going back out. And just watch that. Just be aware of the breath, the belly expanding and contracting. As you watch the breath, witness the breath, shifting your attention to the breath and resting your attention lightly on the breath. The breath changes, the breath starts to relax. You can feel the breath too, depending either in coming in and out of your nose or mouth. You can even hear it as you observe it, or as you follow the breath. It's a whole body experience, just being with the breath, being present to the breath, being one with the breath, the rising and the falling of the breath. So easy. It's such a great place to relax. And noticing that when you shift your attention to the breath, and you are observing the breath as it rises and falls, that the breath relaxes, the body relaxes, and you become aware of the breath and the space that surrounds the breath. Awareness itself. This vast, empty, beautiful space of awareness. Just there, it is presence itself, awareness. Empty and silent and beautiful. This awareness. Just to relax and be. In the mind, we're so tense all the time. In this place, we can just be with awareness. With the breath as it rises and falls. Relaxing a bit more with each breath. Breathing in life. Breathing out relaxation. Breathing in life. Breathing out relaxation. Breathing in life. Breathing out relaxation. And feeling just as alive as you might like to feel, and as relaxed as you will allow. You can open your eyes.
Ah, wonderful. I like that combination of relaxed and alive. For me, generally, alive means stressed out and rushing around. And
mean, the energy of
Great.
real life.
Yeah, it's great. It's great. Um, let's see, so many things to talk about. I was gonna uh, just briefly say a few things about how you supported me yesterday. And then I thought we'd talk a little bit about birthdays, considering ours are so close together and it's something that everyone has. Um, so just yesterday, I woke up and I was leading a fitness class that I'm creating, and we're developing it out, and I got some feedback that I took very I don't know what the right word is. I didn't take it well.
Took it personally.
And I took it personally. That is it. Yes, I took it personally, or identified with my ego and childhood stuff around criticism and not feeling good enough. And I was like, this is the last fucking thing I need on my birthday morning. I was supposed to do this workout, feel great, and not. And it could have derailed my entire day. Just it's so it's just fascinating how potent these wounds can be, and the identification with them can be, and just this little thing triggers it and can derail a beautiful day that I had scheduled to take off, which I have also never done, taken a work day off for my birthday. And then your beautiful daughter had created all this stuff, and I was like, I got to get myself sorted out here. So we had a session and we did some parts integration work. And it was really fascinating to do the practice of both watching myself and the identification that that younger self had with this mechanism, and then also be able to check in with that younger self and from a disidentified place as an adult human, be able to support that child. And I said to you, I'm having a hard time disidentifying with the upset as an adult, so how can I support the kid? And you said, you're not doing your practices, you're not practicing disidentification and parts integration. And just wondering if you might speak to that a little bit, anything that might provide value for people.
Sure. Give me a second. I was just working with somebody today, and who works with people in a healing context, who I coach. And we were exploring her way of being with clients and how she does it, and where and when she's in her mind and being analytical, and where and when she's present and watching the breath and being with them, and how all of that works and operates. We're so, as a species, we're talking about this too, as a species, we are so identified with our egoic minds that we can't see what's real. What we see, we're seeing everything through the prism of our projections. If inside we're defensive and scared and tight and afraid and angry and all of those things, what we do is we take what's inside us and project it outward, and then see the whole world through it, through those projections. It's like it's like seeing the world through shit-colored glasses. But it's what we do. And so when we're looking through these shit-colored glasses all the time, projecting outward our fears and insecurities and all of that sort of stuff, then whatever we see is filtered through that. And like yesterday when you were doing this thing, anything that is susceptible of the interpretation of the projections or is simply neutral will get viewed. Sometimes even the most positive things will get viewed like that. I remember once, many years ago, when I was a high-powered, running as hard as you can lawyer, going all full on, blah, 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 really in the middle of a very intense time. And I was sitting in my bathtub at home trying to chill out. And my girlfriend came in, who was visiting, came in. And she said something about, you really need to relax. And I looked at her and I said, don't tell me what to do. And she said it in a very loving way. So we are capable of misinterpreting the most loving things, let alone something that's actually critical or judgmental and unfriendly. And we will, because we see everything through that. And that's just how it is. That's how we can ignore climate change. Those motherfuckers they would sell the horns. They would sell the pelt of the last polar bear. Make $1 while the world is ending. It's just, we're so, one of the most amazing qualities of the whole of our species is our ability to not see what is, but to see whatever we want to see, whatever we want to believe. We can interpret almost anything to believe that. It can support racism, sexism, planetary destruction, all of that sort of stuff. Well, how do we do that? We do it because we're identified with the ego. The ego is driven by all of this early life stuff. And it's just how it is. So what is our only, we can just sedate ourselves, we can distract ourselves and then be reactive when we are. And just in the process of living, if we're open to life as much as we can be, we develop something like wisdom. Maybe. But to really change it, the only way to change it is with awareness. That's the only way to change it, is becoming aware of how we operate and who we are and how the whole fucking thing works. And how to relax. And to relax, we have to disidentify ourselves from this ego, fear-driven stuff, which is all early life wound stuff. And you know the two most basic techniques I offer. One is to simply relax and to get some perspective. And I've developed a process to do that. And the other that I use the most is working with parts. Once we learn to disidentify, to actually develop a connection and relationship to the parts of our, or subpersonalities, whatever you want to call it, that is living in that tightness, that fear, that anxiety. And we actually can do that. We can develop a conversation with it and help that part relax. And we can help ourselves relax with meditation and with the basic technique. But it's fucking hard in the sense that those conditions are very strong. We've been doing them our whole fucking life. And they're deeply ingrained, most of the power of it in the unconscious mind, below the surface. Even though it drives the way we do and be with everything, mostly it's underneath, below the surface of what we're actually aware of. And so we often feel helpless. Oh my God, I get so angry, or I get so scared, or I get so hurt. What the fuck am I going to do? We feel powerless. The only way out of it is in. going inside, seeing who we are, seeing what's actually going on, and learning how to disidentify from the egoic mind. And the breath, different people have different methodologies, but over millennia, the bridge has been a path. The breath has been a bridge from the egoic mind to awareness. And an anchor to stay connected to awareness, the breath. And these techniques help us to, we can't really change the old habits. Those habits and beliefs are what they are. What we can do is we can change our relationship to the beliefs and habits and thereby change the habits, not directly, but by creating new awareness, broader awareness, a new way of seeing, which can then allow us to create a new way of being. But because the old way is so deeply conditioned, it takes practice. You have to really commit to working on developing the new way of being, developing the connection to awareness, reducing the identification with the egoic mind in order to become more and more aware. Osho said that if all is needed is awareness, if you just expand your awareness, everything else that is in the way will fall away and your transformation will occur. And that's true. And these techniques that I've developed are ways to, in your day, in your life, do these, disidentify from the ego, connect to awareness, and also to work with the subparts in the personality or in the unconscious to help them relax. And in turn, of course, us relax as they relax.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Anna asks, where can we learn these techniques?
Well, I can send you the techniques. I have, you have them, I have them. We could, if somebody sends an email address, we can send them back as attached files. I don't want to just put them out there anywhere because they need some explanation and some context. But for people who are interested, if you send us your email address, we will send you the techniques. One of the things we're putting together, you can just do the techniques, but one of the things, and also, of course, I do my sessions with people who want sessions, and I'm scheduling a series of workshops around the United States and abroad. But Raj and I are going to be putting together some basic instructions and practices, the way we just did the relaxation technique, to do a little audio, a little video showing how to do the practice, and we're going to make those available. But for now, we can give you the techniques if you send us an email.
Okay, great. And I'm giving them May's address. I'm just going to have May manage that. So I just put her email address.
For now, I want to see the requests. Give them my email address. For now, I want to see the emails, see who they're coming from, see if I have questions. And if you wouldn't mind, whoever's interested in getting these, tell me just a little bit about yourself and how you would like to use these. Just not much, a couple of sentences, and I'll send them to you.
Great. And Naren, is that naren@consciousnesscoaching.com or your Gmail address?
Naren@consciousnesscoaching.com.
Great. Naren at consciousnesscoaching.com. And then please, what is it that you'd like a couple lines of?
No, it's Naren at NarenConsciousnessCoaching.com.
Ah. Okay, Naren at NarenConsciousnessCoaching.com. Got it. And you said you'd like to have a couple sentences about what?
Oh, just to tell me your age, what you're doing, why you're interested in these practices. But just a sentence or two, not much. I'd like to just know a little bit about you before I send them out. It's not like you have to. If you just say, please send them to me, I will.
Okay, great. All right, Naren at NarenConsciousnessCoaching.com. Okay, posted. Great. Okay, Pamela says that will be awesome. And Pascal says he's going to send you an email. Fantastic. Okay, Daniela asks how to handle the empathy that often leads me to identify too much with others and with my ego.
Say that again, Raj.
Do you want me to? Sure. How to handle the empathy that often leads me to identify too much with others and with my ego.
Daniela, the answer lies in your question. You say how to deal with the empathy that leads me to identify, etc., etc. Notice it. Be aware. Empathy is great. Empathy is, the word compassion. Empathy is really compassion, right? It's compassion in action, empathy. And compassion literally means from the Latin roots, feel with, to feel with. That's what empathy is, to feel with somebody. So when you feel with somebody, that's great. It's part of being, to feel our connection and relationship with other human beings is to become approaching our oneness with all people. But we also need to keep our awareness. So it's like, fine, be in empathy, but also keep watching, stay aware. It's just that. It's to, and one way of doing that is to be aware of the empathy, be aware of the other person, shift your attention back to the breath, and watch. It's all about awareness. So it's having empathy and feeling awareness. Although, it's sort of interesting as I say that and sort of feel myself in it. Empathy itself is not a thought. Empathy itself is not from the mind. Empathy is feeling. It is both sense-based and energetic. The identification comes with the mind. The way the mind works to get attached somehow. It's like any other desire, any other attachment, any other mental process. Come back to the present. Come back to being aware of yourself and the other person and just being in compassion, in empathy. And it's like doing the meditation or any other practice. Just keep doing it. Repeat it. Don't make it a big hassle for yourself. Like, oh my God, I'm not doing it right, or oh my God, I got to do it again. Don't do that. Just use the technique. Use your awareness to easily shift your attention back to being present. I have to say, this whole dance, what I'm talking about in the techniques and what I'm talking about in the terms of this work, it's not a hidden agenda. It's an out front agenda to become more and more aware. Just to become more and more aware. And so it's like using all of the tools you have that help you support your awareness. And the techniques I offer help in that respect.
Love it. Okay, love these questions coming in. Shall we talk a little bit about birthdays?
Sure.
Do you want me to ask another question, or you got something you want to say?
Well, why don't you say something about birthdays or ask a question?
Okay, sure. So it's so fascinating with birthdays. At least my experience of it was yesterday. I turned 52, and my parents are aging, and just the fear of death, is it's just always lingering. And I was just present to how little attention maybe, a good portion of us pay, um, prepare for death. It's like something we all face. It's one of the biggest things that happens in our lives. And, we have a wonky relationship with it. And it can totally paralyze us. Gabby gave me this tarot card deck from Rumi, I think. And oddly, the first card was death and life. And, um, I just noticed myself like wanting to avoid the thought of aging and death, especially as I see my parents aging and, their health failing. And, I wonder what it's like for my mom. One of her sisters just passed away, and, what that's like for my mom, being in her late 70s. So, even just talking about it brings up fear and anxiety.
It's
So
interesting.
that's all I have to say.
It's an interesting thing, Raj. It's an interesting thing. Thank you.
Mm.
We actually aren't afraid of death because we don't know what death is. We're afraid of ceasing to exist. We're afraid of not being alive. The end of life, not death itself. We don't know anything about death. As Osho described it, death is part of life. In a real sense, death is part of life. It's the end of life. And the process of that is much more true for me than for you. I'm going to be 74 tomorrow, if I live. And as you get older, I've had some rather serious health issues in recent years. And you face, you lose strength, you lose energy, you lose a lot of stuff. The body starts to deteriorate a lot. And that really makes the end of existence more imminent. So the fear becomes even more acute. Again, I feel a little bit, Osho used to say he felt like a little bit of a fraud. He felt like a doctor who only had one medicine. People would come to him with, oh, my relationship, oh, I'm afraid of death, oh, my work, oh, my sex life, whatever. And he'd listen, and then he would prescribe the same medicine. The only one he had, which is meditation, awareness. And that's true of fear of death as any other one. Osho there's more you can say about it. He said, fear of death is fear of life. Our life is filled with fear from the time we're born until the time we die. The object of the fear is less important than the fear itself. Just learning to be present to fear. Learning to be with fear when it comes up. To be in acceptance. To be in yes. To be in acceptance. That's what awareness is. One quality of awareness is acceptance. There's no resistance in acceptance. There's no for and against in awareness. No for and against in awareness. There's just awareness. So that means acceptance. So the more we're in awareness, the more we're saying yes to life, the more we're in acceptance of whatever happens. And if we can just be with our own fears, death and everything else. and really look at it closely. Like, as if you were listening to somebody you love and are interested in, is it talking about what they're afraid of? They're afraid of death. They're afraid of this, afraid of that. To really get what they're actually afraid of, what actually is going on with them. And the them is we, us, me, you. To inquire even. What really is the fear of? Myself, I'm not so afraid of death. I'm afraid of being old and unable to take care of myself. Feeble to the point of unable to care for myself. That's my deepest fear. And, given my background, everything is totally understandable. I'm at peace with that. Pretty much. Still comes up, but it doesn't. I still get anxious. This stuff, I'm an old guy, stuff happens. I just use the tools. I witness, I watch, and then I relax myself. That's all there is. That's fucking all there is. Unless you're into pharmaceuticals and distraction and whatever, which is fine to do as much as you want. The problem is all that shit ends up in misery. The only way to peace is through awareness.
It's the truth. Yeah. More and more, I get that. And last 2 mornings, I've gotten up at 6 and started my day with a minimum of 15 minutes of meditation. Thanks to your consistent coaching. All right. Anything else that you want to say about that?
Well, what is coming up for me to say is about the techniques, about the practices for people.
Mm-hmm.
Please read it carefully. And as you're learning them, go back to the beginning again and again. Use the basic relaxation technique first for a while, just to develop the habit, develop the way of connecting to breath and relaxation. Do that first. And do it as much as you can. Do it, because at first you're just creating a new habit. You're creating a new way of being. And reinforcement is essential. And for it to be truly helpful the way it can be, you really got to stay with it for a long time. In the same way you have to stay with meditation. If you stop meditating, you'll have gained whatever you have gained, but then you will sink back into your conditioned self. Just how it is. So if you're going to take it on, try and give it a real commitment to do it. And to really, what you have to recognize is you want to transform your consciousness. You want to transform your awareness, and that this is important to you. If it's a whim, fuck it. Wait until the pain is enough so you're actually ready to do it. Because everybody comes to this stuff out of pain, not because, it's a good idea to become enlightened. Although that ego can reach some people pretty good. But most people come to it out of pain. Their life fucking hurts. They're afraid and they're anxious, and we're driven and we're unhappy and we're fucking up our relationships. And our life seems meaningless. And so we're desperate to find something that will give us peace, that will lead us to peace and simple relaxation. And these techniques will do that, but only if you do them.
All right, awesome. Well, I feel like I shouldn't be the one saying enough for today. I think that should come out of your mouth.
Okay, enough for today. Hey, Raj, you know what comes up for me out
Yeah.
of this? What comes up for me out of this is we need to get our ass in gear and to record me just doing the techniques and putting those up
Okay.
for people.
Okay.
So maybe this week, again, it doesn't have to take long. We can just do a 5-minute version or 10-minute version of each, not really going into the depth that you do when we're doing it together in a coaching context, but enough so that people really get a feeling of it if they want to do the techniques themselves. Practices.
That sounds great. Great. All right. Awesome. So if you want to learn a little bit more about what Naren does and his offerings, you can check that out at narenconsciousnesscoaching.com.
By the way, we'll
Just a
post
second.
these. Once we get it together and we get the videos done, we'll post the techniques and the videos on my website.
Great. Great. So yeah, his website is narenconsciousnesscoaching.com. And you can learn more about the one-on-one coaching offerings, his workshops, and public speaking events. I believe there's one coming up in New York City in March. Is that right?
Yeah, there's one coming up in Santa Barbara in March.
That's right. Santa Barbara. What is that? The 8th?
8th, 9th, and 10th in Santa Barbara, then the next weekend in New York City, then the next weekend in Boston.
Wow, you're on a roll.
There you go.
Awesome. Okay, good. Well, that's fantastic. And, I shared a little bit earlier around how just a 15-minute coaching session with Naren helped save my birthday and also probably alleviated a lot of upset with my wife, considering how much effort and energy she put into combined Valentine's Day and birthday celebration. She is a relationship coach after all. And I have to tell you also, oh my gosh, this was hilarious. She bought these rose petals, fake rose petals, as people do on Valentine's Day. Sometimes they'll put rose petals here and there. And there were like thousands of them everywhere. And me being a little bit on edge in the first place, I'm kind of like an anal retentive clean guy. And I was just like, oh my gosh. I'm like, don't say anything. Just don't say anything.
That's wonderful.
Use the practices.
That's wonderful.
And I didn't say anything.
Triggered by rose petals.
Yeah. I didn't say anything. And around 9 o'clock at night, she said something like, this is probably driving you crazy, isn't it? And she said, notice how I didn't put any in your office.
Good for her.
And it was just so great that she knew and I didn't say anything. And she got to say it. And I got to practice being with it. It was so great.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Let me say something about you. Let me say something about your work.
Okay.
Raj Business, Transformance Business Consulting. Raj and I worked together to develop a bunch of his practices and techniques, but he works to transform the consciousness of your business to make it both more efficient and more caring and loving and fun for everybody in the business. If you're in business, you probably know what scaling means, to raise the level of your business so you're making more money and doing more whatever you do. And he has some wonderful techniques for making that happen and helping that. And he's the best listener I've ever known. And he really listens and hears and helps people with one of his practices. He has something called a 90-day game. And you see where you are and where you want to be, and then you develop a path to get there. And then you monitor your progress on that. It's brilliant. And he's brilliant. So if you have a business that you want to scale, or just a business where you need some help, he's your guy.
Awesome. Thanks for that awesome articulation of what I do. And such a pleasure to be developing that work with you, Naren, and increasing consciousness and supporting people and living more peaceful lives through coming to work. It's a win-win for sure. So thank you, everybody, for joining us. And hope to see you next Friday. And do the practices.
Happy trails.
All right. Happy trails. Okay. Bye-bye, everybody.